Hello and welcome to The Last Word on Spurs. We hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Thank you so much for joining us for instant reaction to Tottenham Hotspur beating Fulham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium by 2-1. Delighted to say we've got a top panel on Last Word on Spurs this evening, giving you their thoughts on this game and, of course, building up to Tottenham Hotspur's opening Champions League group stage game. What a lovely feeling that is to be said on Last Word on Spurs. Taking us from right to left, my top right, we've got the brilliant Mr. Richard Cracknell's back on Last Word on Spurs. Rich, lovely to be back on. How are you?
Rick. Oh, lovely. A bit like taking new shoes off getting that win today, wasn't it? So, hello, you, Rick. Hello, Lee and John. I'll be around you and everyone tuning in. And, fantastic. Funny old day today, Rick. And I'll start with one of my silly analogies. Yes, Mr. McQueen in the new apparel, you know that. Good stuff. It was mad, wasn't it? Because for 80 minutes of that game, it was like watching an episode of Downton Abbey. It was all so lovely when it was like Sunday evening TV. And the last 10 minutes, it's like somebody sat on the remote control and put the porn channel on and you couldn't switch it off. And like the volume was right up, and you was like, switch it off. Like, where's Downton Abbey gone? It's porn. I want Downton Abbey back, like, and there's just porn for the last 10 minutes. It was mad. Carry on, Rick. Other people will introduce.
Where do I go from there? Where'd you go from an energy like that? I mean, we just started in 50 seconds. I get an energy like that on the show.
I got married in Downton Abbey, just as an aside, just as you bring it up. I can tell you that the aftermath worked like porn. I tell you, I can tell you that now.
Oh my God! Back on Last Word on Spurs. Fresh from sport in a wonderful town, which I know many picked up on today. If you're on Twitter, we've got the crazy train runner, instructor, driver, whatever you want to call him. Mr. McQueen is back on the Last Word on Spurs. Lee, how are you, mate?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Very, very good indeed. Thank you so much for all the people that have come up to me today and wished us the best. So much love for Last Word on Spurs. Selfies in the stadium. Like, it's just fantastic. Absolutely love all of you. Big shout out to Bob, our good friend Bob, come over from Ireland today as well. He's about to get on a flight, I think, back over to Dublin. So people, traveling far and wide to come and watch the mighty Tottenham Hotspur. And what a game of football that was. I loved watching Downton Abbey for the first 80 minutes. I'm not sure my dicky ticker could actually take the porn side of things. But, I mean, it was never a 2-1 game. Absolutely never a 2-1 game. So I'm sure we'll get into the stats when I get the blue book out in a minute. But it was very, very pleasing all round today. I thought Richarlison was just different level today. Absolutely banging. But yeah, amazing, mate. Great to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely to have you back. And delighted to also have this man back on Last Word on Spurs. The first of many appearances this season. We've got the wonderful musician. Listen, Jah Wobble. How does he need any introduction on Last Word on Spurs? John, thank you for blessing us with your presence. How are you?
I'm very happy. Very happy with today. I was very keyed up for the game. Let's face it, I think we all got a little bit concerned with the last two away performances, as well as even the Wolves game at home a couple of weeks ago. It's not been great, and obviously Chelsea away. So we're like 4 poor performances really where we got the results, but didn't really play. Today I thought we looked great top to bottom. Great having Romero back. I thought it was great having Bentancur back as well, because he sets the tempo. He's like the conductor. Such an elegant footballer. Richarlison out as well. Don't think I've ever seen such a hard-working forward. Thought he was fantastic. Son was much better today. He's been off form. He didn't score, but he looked a lot better. He was getting in great positions. I loved it. I've had a great time today. Really enjoyed it. And the only fly in the ointment, Romero, little bit of a weak ass tackle to let what's his name? There's number 9.
Mitrovic.
Yeah. Side. As soon as he comes inside, he's going to put it in the top corner. But it shouldn't have come to that. We got to foul. We've got to do the old cynical fouls. They've done it with Son. You've got to in their half. But basically, I'm so happy. I love Tottenham still. I just love it, and my life's revolved around this. So I'm just very happy. on air all the way back. That's how it is. Yeah.
You know what I love is the dedication of these boys, and I say we've all come back from the Spurs Stadium only a couple of hours ago, and the adrenaline is still absolutely going. And for those that were maybe concerned of the nature of that press conference yesterday, I spoke to all the boys, messaged them and said, I was quite subdued presser. I was quite subdued by that press conference, worried that was going to translate onto the pitch, but certainly first half, I mean, we'll come on to it. I definitely think that was one of our best half performances so far this season, if not the best. And I thought we were going to get like a really poetic speech there from Joe. I was breaking into it saying, I love Tottenham. I love them so much.
Oh, love it.
I love it, Joe.
His presser, I know. I think a lot of people, we're all a bit worried, but I think as much as anything, he's a manager and he's managing expectations all the time. I would love to know what's gone on in terms of this recruitment at the tail end of the window, because come on, there was the big fanfare. Enika got 150 mil to spend.
The war chest.
That was presented as not being connected with, it wasn't dependent on us selling players. It was 150 mil to spend. So we all expected, apart from Richarlison, a marquee signing, a kind of game-changing box-to-box midfielder. We know Conte doesn't like arty number 10s. We know that. But we thought we'd get somebody who could do it, be a number 8 as well as a 10, I suppose. And it's funny, it just turned into a damn squid. And you always wonder with Tottenham if Joe Lewis or somebody has said, no, I'm not spending the money. No, I'm not having it. I'm not going to get rinsed. You do one, that's the dynamic we're all worried about. And it suddenly, decide they're not going to support Conte, basically, which we all know would be a disaster now.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but on the other hand, I think maybe he's just being, Conte's kind of just being realistic. He's not a lucky guy that talks he's not Harry Redknapp, is he? He's a different kettle of fish.
No. That definitely not Harry Redknapp, that's for sure. But like I say, I mean, I've got to say, for a man that I think there might be an element of concern on the back of that presser yesterday, I can only say by being in that stadium, I'm sure the boys echo it as well. He was kicking every ball. He was up for pretty much the full 90 minutes today. I mean, there's lots of videos doing the rounds on the socials already. The passion from Conte, who was at full time when the goal went in. I mean, absolutely unmatched. So looking forward to talking about that. And just again, I have to say, I'm sure all the boys echo this from being down at the stadium today. Just the amount of love out there for Last Word on Spurs. We were just discussing this in the green room before. Just say thank you so much for all the love. And can I just apologise to those that saw me down Tottenham Higher Road, absolutely doing a gentle jog to the stadium and almost a Queen's way from me, just trying to get to my seat in time after dropping off my little boy to his in-laws. I will apologise because, number one, was meant to be in Beavertown. Number two, love you so much and sorry I didn't stop. And I'm sure, like I say, we will get together very, very soon. And talking about...
Ricky, I got a message saying you was running down Tottenham High Road like a gooner. That's how fast you was running.
Can't have been me then, Rich. Fast running, never. Talk about getting together. I must just quickly say before we get into the show, we are delighted to be sponsored by the Beavertown Corner Pin. That is the Beavertown bang opposite your south stand. And in this lovely advert you can see for our watching audience there on YouTube, you're going to see our proud Mr. Cracknell in there as well. Listen, we're excited to get back down there as a group. Lee's been away in Spain. Cracks, of course, in and out of Spain as well. Ant's been away. So many of us kind of in and around at the moment due to the holiday season of August and September coming into it. But we have got a really amazing screening to bring to you very soon. A live event as well before the end of the year. But you can right now book your televised away spot for the next coming game, which will be Man City next week. Just a small game of Man City away next week. Go down to Beavertown, check them out. That's www.beavertownbrewery.co.uk/pages/corner-pin. And then come and check out Last Word on Spurs after for the instant reaction to Spurs, hopefully beating Man City. Right. We are going to get into it. Lee, it feels only right, mate. You're back to start with you on this show. Listen, good performance from Spurs overall. I don't think there's any big surprise to see the real leaping passing quality with the return of Bentancur and Romero to Spurs' side. But really, I would say, I would say it's a delight to watch that forward line today. Some really great performances in there. And must I just say, Fulham, they're a good side as well, Fulham today. They're no pushovers, Fulham. They fought right to the end. They'll definitely keep on improving. But overall, Lee, thoughts on the game?
Yeah, fair play to Fulham because they kept themselves in the game. I think I counted, the Blue Books with us, obviously. We had 23 shots I think, in total at goal, and 6 block shots as well, which sometimes get overlooked. Oh, here you go. You are a Superman. Look at this. I love this stuff. This is, well, I can really get into it, Ricky. You're loving it. So look, 23 shots, 10 on target. I mean, that's absolutely phenomenal. And I do understand that when you're at the bar and when you're at the post, it doesn't count as on target ultimately. So, you know, we've hit the bar and the post. We've had 2 ruled out for VAR as well. Was it 2 ruled out or 1? I can't even remember. Phenomenal amount of attack. Was it 2? Was it, Rick?
1 in the first half, and obviously Richie's at the end, so it probably would count as 2. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
probably would count.
Yes, it's 2.
Yeah.
So look, absolutely, Kane's header, wasn't it? So absolutely tore them apart today. And as Cracker said about the whole Downtown Abbey thing, I mean, this was a completely controlled game. I think Atlan's statistics there. Look at the XG. I mean, we're 3.09 just for our audio listeners as well, against an XG expected for Fulham of 0.6. I mean, you know, red cards, obviously there was no red cards, offsides. We were 3 times offside as well. We had 10 corners to Fulham's 3. So at the end of the day, 50, that's probably the statistic. Didn't feel like a 48% possession in favour of Spurs. So that felt a bit more. I don't know what you guys think and you know, viewers and listeners. But for me, and I've said this so many times before on the show, and I'll say it again, sorry to keep repeating it, you get 7, 8, 9 shots on target every game, you're going to win football matches. Simple as that. To coin a phrase from Crackers, simple as that. So look, the reality is 23 shots, 10 of them on target. We're going to win a football match. It wasn't a 2-1 game today. I know it was, but it felt, you know, it could have been 4 or 5, couldn't it, Rick? To be fair.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Listen, I think coming over to you, Cracks, the scoreline doesn't reflect Spurs' dominance in a much improved display overall. I mean, again, more personal history for Harry Kane, but that win was all about really a slick team performance. Bentancur, Richarlison, who were really, really good during that game. Son as well. I mean, I know he didn't score today, but he did everything but score, really, if we're being honest with you. And again, setting the final third, there is an improvement there, but I am really keen to kind of ask you, Rich, we see the stats on the screen there. What did you make of the game for you overall in the way Spurs handled it?
I'm quite amazed with them possession stats, Rick, that you've got up there. I mean, last time I was that amazed by a 52-48% split, I think was the Brexit vote. It's like, that's just, that's madness. I honestly, if you'd have put up 70-30 in favour of Tottenham, even like 75-25, I would have believed that, to be honest. So that possession is like, well, I just don't. I suppose that all comes to what he's done with the ball, and you know, Fulham really didn't offer up too much, but every time we had the ball, we just looked like we wanted to get forward and get some shots away. I mean, Leno today's really kept them in that. He made some great saves, took some stick as well from the south stand, by the way. But yeah, that really surprises me. But like Lee said, 23 shots and 10 of them on target is just is phenomenal. You can't not lose a game, and yet they could have, like, in another parallel universe, they could have nicked a draw out of that today at one stage. Yeah. Which is just a mad, like, you know, I'm never really, I know Lee loves his stats, but as I said on social media the other week, you can throw up stats all you like, but there's only one that counts, and that's that result stat, really. It's, you know, and what you see with your eyes as well, you know, and today's performance after going to West Ham on Wednesday was just you know, it was light and day, wasn't it, really? And I mean, 2 standouts today, quite weirdly, is, as John said at the start of the show, Bentancur. He's the conductor. He just floats. He's majestic, isn't he? He just glides and floats, and you know,
like Berbatov.
Yeah, Berbatov. I agree.
Yeah, he's Berbatov. Yeah, he's sort of he's got that waddle thing about him, isn't he? That Berbatov. John's a man of words. Is it languid? He's
elegant. He's an elegant.
Yes.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and
I mean, Berbatov was such an elegant footballer, but he's similar to. He's the first midfielder I think we've had since Modric who sets the tempo. I don't think even Poch had a midfielder at his disposal. So he's a very canny guy that just understands about setting the tempo, keeping it moving, keeping it, switching it, you know. By the way, the first thing I did when I saw those stats on the possession was, what? 57, 48? Maybe, I suppose it must be true. But there's one thing with us now, when we do have possession a lot of the time, we attack with a great sense of purpose.
I totally agree. You know, also...
That's such a change from under Nuno. You know, we really use our possession now, you know.
You know, I also love as well that even at times today when, you know, the game was under pressure and it was tight, this was I think it was at 1-0. You know, the playing out from the back, I could see that even in the stadium still, it does unnerve a lot of our fans, the fact that, you know, we're playing back to front. But there's such an air of coolness about Spurs when they are bringing it out from the back, especially with Romero in that team. And then, as you boys have said, you had Bentancur into it as well. And I do think that you're right. You know, he is almost like a Berbatov-esque player, but he's in midfield. He's just so cool, composed with the ball. And listen, Jar, to stick with you, actually, it kind of come across towards the end of that game as being a nervy finish, but a job done. But really, it shouldn't have been anywhere near that. I mean, Spurs were, for large periods. We're in complete control of it, Jar. Yeah, I mean... it
was very unfortunate with the third goal. I found it very irritating for it to be ruled out, because I would love Richarlison to be off the mark. He was so happy, so I was very disappointed with that. But to be honest, after they got that goal, you know, they had one corner, I think, didn't they? You know, the second deflected shot, but did that come after the goal? They had those two. So the only times Lloris was really brought into action was both those deflected shots that he had to deal with. She's done really well. They were great saves. But to be fair, I've seen, obviously over the years, in the past, once it was pegged back to 2-1, it would have been Keystone Cops. Mr. Manuel, Mr. Manuel, it would have been all that, you know. And actually today's wasn't. I think Romero and I think Lenglet, they're made of sterner stuff. By the way, none of us have mentioned Lenglet.
No, he was really good today. What a solid debut. Yeah. Too calm and composed, John. Too calm and composed for Spurs.
I want it both ways. I want us to play it out from the back, but I don't want to be nervous. You can't have it both ways. You're going to get nervous. At that point, when Lloris did the little chip today, you know, that bothered me. You know, the little dink he did. It's like, oh, please don't do that. Don't do that. You know, just clear it. You know, like West Ham. Just clear it. You know?
I said to my mate Bill, we were watching that. And we said, hang on, that's above Lloris's pay grade doing that. Just don't do that. That's not your pay grade, mate.
Yeah, just exactly. I remember him making a howler for France in a game, actually, didn't he? Trying to beat a man near his goal line. Why? Why would you do that? But we have to, as Conte ball, you play it out from the back. You beat the press and then you're zooming forward, you know, in 2 or 3 passes. So it is part of the game. And it's Lenglet. You know, I've seen just stuff on YouTube, and I know he had a bit of a torrid time with Barcelona the last few years as they just fell apart, to be fair. And of course, it's always the centre halves who look bad because they're always the big blokes exposed at the back, you know, and look bad. But I've looked some other stuff with him. He's got a lovely left peg on him. You know, he might end up as the best passer out the ball we've had since the Belgian boys, you know.
Yeah, you know what, a lot of people picking up on that actually in the comments here. I've been saying that Jan Vertonghen, but Jan Vertonghen and Toby, I completely got, you see, I got confused. I wouldn't call him Jan there, Jan.
Yeah, absolutely, Rick, yeah, okay, yeah.
That's what he's done to me, the composure of the boy. He's put me
Last word on the wine bar, isn't it? Okay, yeah.
All this joking aside, it was a really composed debut from Clement Longley. And I know many people in the comments just saying that, you know, arguably, because he was so composed, maybe that does go out under the radar slightly, because there was a moment where he did slip during the game. There was that moment, and I saw
Højbjerg, but it wasn't fatal. It wasn't fatal.
No, and Højbjerg just said, you could just see Højbjerg saying to him, you know, don't panic, don't worry. And you know what I must say, being at the ground today, you really do realise how much of an instructor Højbjerg is. I know Cracks calls him the dustman, but today, he really does lead everybody by example. He kind of takes the team with him wherever he goes. He's always pointing, he's instructing. And again, I think it's performances like that from Højbjerg today, which again is the reason why, he's pivotal to Conte's plan, isn't he? I think you look at generally how he lines his teams up. You'd imagine Højbjerg again is going to be playing a huge amount of minutes for Spurs this season. And I think some of them may have laughed when that Real Madrid link came along. Listen, I think it was genuine. I think you look at Højbjerg, what he brings to a squad as a leader alone before the ability, and we'll come on to his goal in a second. But again, I mean, he is. There's a lot of comments here. Look, there's Johnson's on the screen. There's Generalissimo Højbjerg. He really, really is. But Lee, let's swing back over to you because there was some real decent player performances in there. Richarlison, I think, again, listen, that guy did everything but score today. Heung-min Son also really unlucky not to score. And again, you see Perisic when he comes on. Such a big player for Tottenham. Joe's plays well with Hugo Lloris. I mean, Hugo, again, during the week, obviously criticised massively for West Ham. But again, today comes back with a couple of wonderful saves. One huge, huge save to really, give us the 3 points, Lee. I mean, Hugo's mentality is just top draw, isn't it?
Yeah, look, absolutely. I mean, he celebrated 10 years at the club on Wednesday. It went a little bit under the radar because he did make the mistake when he kicked the ball out and that shambolic goal that we gave away and gifted West Ham their cup final draw. I think most of West Ham thought it was going to penalties, didn't they? For their cup final. Yeah, you know what I mean? But no, look, I mean, that is the measure of the bloke, Hugo Lloris, right? They were literally out of the top drawer, both of them saves. I think, that ping that from Mitrovic to score was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But for him to save that ricochets up from Romero, it was an absolute cat save, wasn't it? I mean, crackers, you know, goalkeeper, and your sons are goalkeepers and that. I mean, it's an absolute cat save, wasn't it? It was like, wow, almost behind him type thing.
It's world class, Lee, because, I mean, he's doing nothing. First half, he was literally 20 foot in front of us.
He might as well have been in the south stand. He might as
well just sat in with us, to be honest. I mean, he was just having sips of water, giving us little thumbs up. It was almost like having a chat. So to do nothing and then do that is just like phenomenal. But isn't that the life of a goalkeeper? I mean, Wednesday he was all over the place. Today he's got us to win. He really has. He's kept us in it, and that is just that's just goalkeepers. It's time to start looking for somebody to come in. Not yet, but he's getting to an age now, you know. And but yeah. When he pulls one out of the bag, oh man, he pulls one out of the bag. And when he's having a ball bag, oh man, he has a ball bag, doesn't he? But I just think that's just goalkeepers all round.
To be fair though, the goal against West Ham when he kicked it out, to me, the real criminal part of it was allowing a throw-in to be taken to land at the feet of the West Ham centre forward.
Yeah, I agree.
Schoolboy stuff.
Yeah. Totally agree.
So, and Højbjerg, who is very professional and very switched on, he's chatting to the ref, and Bissouma's just not aware because they're the two. It's your defensive midfielder should be covering that, and certainly people should be screaming at each other. They all collectively switched off, but obviously it shouldn't have been a throw-in. It should have gone another 50 yards up the pitch. But anyway,
I must say, it's funny, isn't it? We when we put out the listener questions, we had about 70 come in for West Ham. And I always say this, that when we win, how significantly less there are. About 8 today. So, listen, can I just say, for our social team, lots easier when we win. So let's keep that up, please. When we lose, 70 questions, having to dig them up. I tell you, it's not the most easiest thing. And we only read about 15 of them due to how many there is on Last Word on Spurs. So again, thanks so much for all the support. Just a flavour of what we've got here. Paul Nando says 23 shots, 10 on target, and people are still moaning about the performance. You could say we should be more clinical, but that happens. But just be happy we've got a large number of shots on target and the 3 points. Matt Martin said...
Sorry, Ginger, I can't believe anyone's moaning about that today.
You know what?
I'm going to ask you,
Lee, in a second about that, because there's a really good stat that kind of comes on to that. I want to get your opinion on. Matt Martin says, not really a question for the panel, but I'd be keen to understand if there's anything any moaners can say about being upset with that kind of performance. I mean, if I just read to you, Lee, listen, Spurs, we've got 14 points from 6 Premier League games this season, won 4, drawn 2, obviously lost none. Our joint highest total at this stage of a campaign in this competition, alongside the 2016-2017 season, when, of course, Spurs went on to achieve their highest ever finish second. Now, Lee, you're back from a week in which we've seen there's been some disgruntlement over the last few weeks about the style of play. We had obviously a bit of a subdued presser from Conte on Friday. Lee, have you changed in your views about the style so far, or do you think, listen, this is part of a process and we are going in the right directions as the table, which Spurs currently lay third on as we recalled, and the points suggest we are?
I think the style of play is a matter of opinion from everyone. I've got to be honest with you. I don't know where the hype has come from about this style of play stuff. I don't know where it's come from, to be honest. So we absolutely tonked Southampton, and then look, the previous game, tough game against Wolves. I get that. It was a bad first half, decent second half. Against Chelsea, I mean, do you want to play champagne football at the Bridge when we literally don't ever win any points there? So, I kind of wrote that off in my mind. I think the biggest one, I wasn't even that bothered about Nottingham Forest, if I'm brutally honest, because I thought that, okay, 45%, 55% possession. We just said it on here. Who cares? It felt like today that it was 70% possession us, and it weren't. But we won 2-0, and we could have scored a couple more. And by the way, they had one shot on target the entire game, Nottingham Forest. So for everyone saying that we weren't in control of that game, we were. They had one shot on target. And for everyone saying that we were in control of the West Ham game, well, we weren't, because they had 4 shots on target and scored. So I don't really look. It's everybody's opinion, and it's fine. I just think the biggest thing, and Frank said this on the last show, the biggest thing that we need to do is collectively get behind this team, because there's one thing that I know for a fact in my heart, and I can't prove this, but I know for a fact in my heart and my gut, that last season, the reason why we got top 4 is because we were all together. THFC flag, getting the flags out, Spurs strong sheets, getting the charts out, the stadium rocking, the fans loving it. We want a bit of Conte ball. So let's not be greedy, right? We've won nothing, absolutely nothing since 2008. And the reality of the situation is we've created 10 shots on target today, 23 shots, hit the post and bar twice respectively, got 2 VARs out of the way. We're at home. It should have been 4-5-6-1 on a different day. Like City turned over Bournemouth the other day. It just drew with Villa. This is the biggest, the toughest league in the world, and we've had a fantastic start. So guys, girls, listeners, viewers, come on, man. This is Tottenham. We're third, 14 points out of a possible 18. Let's rock on. Let's enjoy it. You can't enjoy this.
Well,
you gotta give yourself a wobble.
Yeah.
You see what I did there, Jar? But look, you know what I mean? You got to, because do you know what I'm saying, though, guys, girls, listeners, viewers? Come on, man. Come on.
We saw it at the end of last season. At the end of last season, some of the home performances were fantastic to watch. That Newcastle game, the Everton game,
to watch.
Aston
Villa away,
Arsenal,
smashing Arsenal. I mean, come on, guys, girls, come on. That's what I would say. I don't think it's a big thing, personally. But that's my opinion. People will disagree, and that's completely fine. But we're all friends at the end of the day. We're all Spurs. We all want the same thing.
Exactly. We all want to win, right? We all want to win.
World, you'd want to rock up, just quickly, in ideal words, you want to rock up every match. You'd want to get 75% possession. You'd want to pass the crap out of the ball for the whole of the game and score 6 goals. That's probably City, to be fair, and we're a little way off of that at the moment. But even City don't win every game, and they certainly don't win every game against us, as they'll find out next weekend as well.
But even today, I would say today's probably been one of our most complete performances of the season. I think today we've gone back to that.
And that's the point, isn't it? Yeah, it was only 2-1.
And I think the thing,
we could have lost the win. Sorry.
But that scoreline is such a false way of analysing the game, isn't it? When you look in general, Cracks, coming over to you, generally you wouldn't see more of a one-sided 2-1 game. Really, like I say, Richarlison's goal stands, which I know it's offside, but it changes the whole complexion of that result, 3-1 to 2-1. But Conte after the game said, I like the performance. If I have to find a situation that we need to improve, it is to be more clinical. If you have so many chances, you have to score. I enjoyed seeing a lot of the players play with authority and personality. He went on to say that Richie and Sonny worked so hard for the team with the ball and without. They gave a lot of danger for the opponent and moved it ever so well, very well fast. Rich, overall, listen, you've been a president and last word on Spurs for God knows how many years. You've been on quite a number of shows already this season. What have you made overall, Richard, the style? And is today more what you want to see, or have you never been that particularly bothered with the whole style of play so far this season?
I think you have to cut your cloth accordingly with whoever you're playing, Rick. So when you are going to City away next week, you might have to be a little bit more low block and see if you can take a counter and, go there and go toe to toe and see what happens. All right, you might get a better, more battling performance and us going at it. But I'll tell you what, you're coming away with your arse handed to you on a plate. You're just like, you're not getting anything out of it. So, if you go in now and you go in and playing, dare I speak his name, a bit of Mourinho style football and come away with something, you're going to be delighted. And when you are playing a Fulham at home or the like, then you want to see what you get today. So it's a bit of light and shade. You can't, scream, it's all over. Conte plays terrible football one week and then champagne football like the next. Do you know what I mean? It's like you have to cut your cloth accordingly. And today, Rick, nothing wrong with it at all. Like Sonny, people are going, I think he's done. I think he's this. I think he's that. Today, he worked his socks off. And I'll tell you something else with Sonny, because people have been saying, perhaps he's had enough, perhaps it's this, perhaps it's that. I watched him from about 90 to 89 minutes, and he was up off the bench, and he was going more mad than anybody else in that stadium. He was up. He was kicking every ball from the bench. You could see how much it meant to him. Harry as well, when Richarlison's goal got chalked off.
What was he doing?
He's off the bench and he's talking to the coaches and he's pulling people back. And when you see things like that, you've got a team, Rick. That's all the boys pulling together. So if they're not unhappy and they're like with the programme and they're enjoying it, and Conte's kicking every ball, and Harry's screaming he's been taken off but still part of the team, who are we to start saying, Tottenham's this, Tottenham's that? Because I'll tell you what, they look like a proper together team at the moment, all in the same boat. And Lee's right, we need to get in that as well, like we did at the end of last season, and sometimes just have to put up with a little bit of bread and butter before you go on to a little bit of caviar and champagne in other games. It's all light and shade. So you've got to get in the boat, suffer a little bit of Conte ball sometimes, and then, enjoy it when you can take the reins off a little bit. So, collectively, can't moan. Stats don't lie. Third in the league, unbeaten. Like, what more do you want? This ain't FIFA. You can't press like, I don't know, I'm 107 years old. You can't press the X and the 0 button. I've seen him on the kids' controllers and do overhead kicks.
Triangle, a big triangle? I don't know.
The big triangle, yeah. Exactly.
Triangle,
can't have it every week. You can't have it. Not in the hardest league in the world. You can't have it. Other than that, Rick, I've got no opinion.
Joel, what's your favourite Actually, I don't do PlayStation. Joel, overall, I mean, have you been concerned, Joel, over the style? I mean, today, listen, Spurs, one defeat in 17 games, Joel. One defeat in 17, third in the league.
I've been concerned at times this season, but you've got to temper that. Hallmark of successful teams is winning when you're not playing well. And, that's how many teams have we seen going back 50, 60 years, win the league, not playing well, winning scrappily 1-0, 2-1, So that's football. Sometimes games are ugly. I could understand the criticism with Mourinho at times, with the low block and very undynamic, very laboured. But a lot of the time, you can see there's a sense of purpose with Conte ball,
Absolutely.
And it's not as if it's just long ball, you play it out from the back, it's dynamic, And we've seen increasingly since he got the job at the end of last season, as we just discussed, there were a number of really fantastic dynamic home performances where we moved the ball with purpose. I love economy, economy of movement, like in martial arts, the Japanese, they're very economic styles, I like economic. You're not wasting any energy. It's very direct. It's very functional. But beautiful design is about function. So they're very functional teams. I do, maybe it's just, a retro thing with number 10. Number 10s are very out of mode at the moment in football. And Conte, I think, is suspicious of artistic number 10s kind of ball players. The one thing about the squad worries me at times that we haven't got somebody, that who can come on the pitch and really get hold of the game and do something unusual. Those premium kind of top players, that bothers me a little bit. But hey, I'm sure Conte's answer would be that the solution is always in the group. You're a team, you know. And I just saw the little thing of the fellas coming off the park today, all joking and laughing at the camera. And he's building a team spirit there, Conte, without doubt. And that's something we've lacked. Crackers would know, and Lee would know. Oh man, there's so many times I've seen us just fold away from home, especially in the Northwest on cold Wednesday nights, and they don't really want to be there. And as long as they're not beat 5-0, it's all right. Just go home and not really die for the cause. I can't stand that, And I've seen so many wimpy Spurs sides up at Port Vale in the cup, and I've seen us play under Aussie, God bless him, without a defence. How do you like that? Playing without a defence at Man City of all people, So this fella's got something going on, and I like to think he likes the players at Tottenham. He obviously thinks the world of Dyer, I think he likes what he's got. He understands you've got to come into a situation. It takes time. You have to work with the attributes those players have got. You have to build confidence over the course of time. And then you augment it. If you try to do it too quickly, you get onto shaky ground because you haven't got that basic understanding between the players. So, to go and do what Forest have done this year, which they probably need to do it, get 26 new players in, would be crazy. I think that's maybe what Conte meant about needing 3 windows. You need to do it in a graduated way. It's like when you build a big band, and I've done that. I've run very big groups. It's a real alchemy and chemistry to it. You don't necessarily want the best keyboard player that's got an extremely fast right hand going up and down the keyboards. You want the guy, firstly, who can play the bloody part. Play the fucking part. Don't start fucking soloing. Don't start bloody soloing everywhere. Learn the fucking part first.
That's why Domblay would never have made it. That's why Domblay would never have made it. Agree.
Be part of the band.
Agree.
Be part of the band. And then it's important to me how the players are in the dressing room, how they are in the home. Are they nice to waiters and waitresses? Do they get on? When they go in the dressing room, we've got all the teas and coffees there. Do they make a brew for everybody, especially me? Or do they make a brew for themselves? Do they make a brew for themselves? And a lot of Horn players are like that. I'm like, you're selfish. Not really a team player. So I can see what Conte's about. I like it. I think he's a good bloke. He's Italian as well. So he'll have that Roman centurion all in a huddle with the big long spears, beating the emotional Celts.
Jar,
anyway.
I feel sorry, Jar, because I don't think you can see the comments here, but everyone is absolutely loving it. I tell you what, Jar, forget playing for Conte. I want to play for you. I tell you, what a
so much love.
Well, let me tell you something. I've scored a hat trick in Holland with old man's football a few weeks. I've got 2 hairline fractures of the pelvis and a torn abductor, and I still had it. I had it when I scored the hat trick. You still, and every gig I'll do, you go out and give it. If you can't give it 100%, fuck off. Just fuck off. It's as simple as that. Just fuck off. If you can't give 100% and be present and give everything, fuck off. I don't care if you make the odd mistake. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes on stage. You learn how to cover it, Yeah. But anyway, that's it. Yeah, and I like this Conte. I think he's a good bloke. I think he's a nice geezer. Yeah.
But listen, Jar, I absolutely love you. What we will just do, for the sake that we can now put up the ad breaks where we're past the watershed, we are going to go for our first break of the show for our listeners on audio. So much love for you, Jar. It's actually going mental. I can't tell you. There's about 900 to 1,000 of you watching Jah Wobble, giving what a team talk will be when he's in charge with Conte next week, when he gets on the back of this being signed up to join Ryan Mason on Spurs' bench. You're joined by the wonderful musician Jah Wobble. You're joined by the returning Lee McQueen. fresh off the back of a lovely break. And the wonderful Richard Cracknell also, I know, was he was also being papped today, bless him, in where he was located, being heralded by the last one of Spurs audience. So thank you so much for all your support. You know what's coming, of course, and we know what's coming. We are delighted, of course, this season to be once again sponsored by NordVPN. Nord are, of course, as we've called them, the hurricane of VPNs. They secure an incredibly fast, easy-to-use network, and they've got over 5,200 servers across 59 countries in the UK. Now, it is worth making this point that, listen, Champions League is starting this week. A lot of you are going to be flying in and all around Europe, of course, for a lot of our games this season. With Nord, you've got the opportunity, of course, to change your location settings to a number of different locations based on wherever you are. And that does mean for you, of course, you can, number one, secure your VPN, secure your network. It allows you to obviously change where you are based. So if you're watching football from England and you're going to go abroad, you can still watch the football.
In Spain. Perfect, mate. Get BBC
iPlayer.
You want to watch a match of the day, you can't do it in Spain. Get your NordVPN out and you've got your match of the day. It's absolutely perfect, Rick. I mean,
even a Spotify Premium.
Speed and fast and changing the locations. NordVPN, mate. Full on.
Spotify Premium as well. So if you've got YouTube, want a discount on that, Spotify Premium, that also gives you the opportunity to do so. We have got
Rick,
Crackers wants to go in. Go on,
you know what else NordVPN does? Comes into the hotel and it says hello to the staff and it makes everyone a cup of tea. Not just itself. Yeah. NordVPN makes everyone a cup of tea. All right, so get NordVPN.
And Jah as well. And it's a bass player as well for Jah when he wants a break as well. We're just going to show you the details here. On the screen there, you can get 4 months free with your NordVPN plan by going to www.nordvpn.com/LWOS. Again, 900 plus people watching and absolutely loving Jah's. They're asking if there's any more team talks coming from Jah. We'll let him do the one at full time. Don't worry. We will absolutely. Guys, we are going to get into the starting 11. Lee, let's come round to you to kick off second half of the show. So, Conte, we saw 5 changes from Antonio Conte today for our watching audience on YouTube. There, you can see the team on your screen. We had Christian Romero, Rodrigo Bentancur returning from injury. We also saw Clement Longley coming into the back line in place of Ben Davies to make his full debut, while Ryan Sessegnon got the nod at left wing back ahead of Ivan Perisic. Richarlison also named in the top 11 for the first time since his big 60 million move from Everton, taking the pace of Dejan Kulusevski in that front three. It did mean that Heung-min Son got yet another chance to end his struggles in front of goal, which unfortunately we all know how that went. For Fulham, their deadline day signings, Willian, Dan James, Carlos Vinicius were all named on the bench for them. So Spurs' 11 from left to right, as you can see on your screen, was Lloris, Romero, Dyer, Longley, Emerson, Bentancur, Højbjerg, Sessegnon, Richarlison, Kane and Son, with a bench of Forster, Sanchez, Davis, Perisic, Doherty, Tanganga, Basuma, Skip, Kulusevski, and again, actually no place on the bench for Jed Spence. Lee, thoughts on that team? And maybe thoughts on the subs and maybe lack of inclusion again for Jed Spence, if you want to go on to that, if you feel necessary.
Thoughts on the graphics as well, Rick. I absolutely love them. Yeah, look, look, he's been saying for a while now he's going to do rotation. He's going to do some rotation. I think we all knew that we were building a squad rather than just to put a full-on first 11 for these games. I think we're now playing Wednesday nights, is it? We play Wednesdays now, do we? Oh, yeah, we do.
Wednesdays,
yeah, okay.
We are, yeah. Confirmed, verified.
Yeah, he's the reason as well. No, look, we're playing Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, the whole way through. I think there's 2 games a week now, isn't there? All will run up until the international break and then beyond that. So I quite like the fact that I don't think Ben Davies has done anything wrong. Just bringing the graphic back up again. But number 34, Longley, I thought he'd done really well apart from slipping over. It was a lot. I wanted to see him because I see a couple of bits of him in pre-season and some of his passing looked really, really good. And so I think that really helped us either side of Eric Dyer. We have Romero back as well. And they're both ball carrying, ball passing centre-backs, aren't they, to be fair? That gives us something different. And we've already said it before, and Jah, you mentioned it as well. Crackers, you did as well. But Bentancur, I thought it was an excellent day. I think Højbjerg was absolutely superb again today. And people will say, "Oh, it was only Fulham or whatever." But look, you know, the stuff that he's doing, the way that he's changing his game, I think, you know, Crackers, you famously called him the dustman, and he's a dustman. He said in his post-match interview today, he's the glue that sticks is meant to pull the team together. But he is getting forward more. There's no doubt. I mean, he's scored against Chelsea. Away for Chelsea, scored again today. He's unlucky as well. I think one of the balls that he pinged over, was it like a bit of a lob ping, like a little lob shot, if you like, in golf, over to Sonny was superb, and it could have been, unfortunately didn't get finished off. So I think he had a really, really good game. And I was happy to see Richarlison in the starting lineup. And as Jay said in the previous show, I was also happy that Son stayed, because I think sometimes with some characters, some personalities need to be pulled out and actually be given a rest and dropped, or whatever you want to call it. And some characters need to feel a bit of love and feel a bit of confidence, and, do you know what I mean, play through almost the barren spell. And there's absolutely no doubt that Son is not only a world-class footballer, but he scored some massive goals for us, for this football club, and he's going through a barren spell. So I think Decky was unlucky to kind of be rested for Richarlison, but it was really good to see Richarlison. I think it was excellent man management from Conte to keep Sonny in there, and he was unlucky today when he hit the bar. He's had a block shot. He scored, and then it was. He was very unlucky today. Another day, he's probably scores hat-trick, didn't he, Rick?
I totally agree. I mean, Cracks, come over to you. Listen, Son scoring with an in-swing corner shot from a short corner, but the flag was up against Kane, who went for the diving header from an offside position. I think it was getting quite telling in the first half, Rich. Have you picked up on this as well? That I thought the short corners were working really well for us. You can see Gianni Veo, obviously, he's just come into the club. He's obviously really making a difference. And I think Fulham weren't expecting, number one, the routines we had planned on those initial couple of corners. We had Son also set up a chance for Richarlison from the other corner moments earlier. I mean, is that becoming apparent for you, Rich, that we're becoming a lot more, I would say, threatening from set pieces? Where I'm listening in the past, Rich, it was like, Lascelles over a corner. You could have gone and made yourself a tea and come back if you weren't watching, or even if you was at the game, you could have grabbed yourself a coffee and come back.
Oh, they were horrible to watch, weren't they, Rick? Corners never beat the first man. They were the same thing, time in, time out. Now you can see that and there is a benefit. There's a huge benefit from being able to, especially in the Premier League, everything's 1,000 miles an hour. You don't get a split second on the ball. So here's a chance, literally on the goal line, if you like, to play a ball or play a set piece where you call all the shots right up until the moment you kick that ball. So it's a huge advantage. And if you can find advantage within those advantage, then a nick a goal, happy days. And we just look so much more effective now on those set pieces, and even defending those set pieces as well is beginning to come apparent. Defending at corners, because if you're learning how to make effective corners that you've got, you can also then learn how to defend against them as well, and maybe see what other teams are working on and know how to negate it. So yeah, it's such an exact science in all that chaos, isn't there? There's just those little advantages. Bring somebody in that's doing set piece tactician. All right, you've got to give him a wage, but if he nicks you a 3 point somewhere that gets you into the Champions League next year, or through to the next round of the Champions League, and listen, we don't go because of the money involved, but clubs look at it that way. So if all of a sudden you do something that earns the club another £10 million, that person you've brought in on a wage paid for himself for a long, long time. So it is every little advantage that you can gain, every little advantage you can get is absolutely fantastic. And like you said with Sonny today, he just can't get one for not getting one at the moment, can he? It's it's just not going with him. And if he's not got enough credit in the bank with us as fans to allow him a bit of a spell like that, which every forward goes through, then I think you've got to question who you are as a fan, to be honest, because if you're looking to kick him out just because he's had a bit of a lean spell, and you're right, he's not a player that I think would benefit from a kick up the derriere. I think he's one of those ones you have to put your arm round. So that changed lineup today is perfect, because Conte can sort of speak to these players that he's rested and say to them, look, big game on Wednesday, so I'm going to hold you back today. And then you sort of give somebody a rest, but keep making them feel like 10 foot tall. So yeah, it was a good team to play against today, and a good team selection.
That just quickly on Sonny there, just mentioned there's a couple of comments that Adrian says about Sonny still terrifies defences. There was a moment in this game today where I thought he was going to score another Puskas. Is it Puskas or Pukas? Puskas goal.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I know it's about that run. Yeah,
unbelievable.
The run. Yeah.
You have to, the referee has to make a decision, right? And I get the rule that the goal scoring opportunity. That was a goal scoring opportunity.
He completely took it. He completely took him out. He only had one thing in his mind, was to swipe him. He had to swipe him.
100%. And Sonny was in the Burnley frame of mind, like the Yang Vertonghen assist and the Pukas goal. And I'm telling you, he's probably going to go on that. But he's never going to get
do you know what we said today about that move? That's probably the absolute golden opportunity where you need an orange card. I know it's been something that's been spoken about, this mythical orange card. That should have seen him get a 15-minute sin bin for that. Not quite a sending off, but more than a yellow. So it might be something you never see a lot. I'm quite in favour of the orange card, and I think today that was an orange, because he was off. He was going, and it was just such horrible, cynical anti-football to bring him down. I'd have orange carded him, put him in the sin bin for 15 minutes.
This is the thing, Rich, isn't it, Rich? The thing is, he knows the guy that he has to make that foul, and he knows he won't get sent off for it. So even more inclined to go and do it. It's a real shame, because I agree with you, Lee. The mind frame he was in, he was going to score. I know he didn't even score today.
He was.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, Joe, I'll come over to you. Listen, he clattered the crossbar early on after some brilliant link-up play with Kane. He trapped a fierce long lay pass, swiveled and played in the Korean. But listen, Spurs eventually did find their breakthrough, Yar. And I went Yar again, Jan, Toby. I know where it's coming from. Yar, we're doing it, Yar. Hoybier.
Yar.
Yeah, I mean, I feel, well, first of all, I totally agree with Crackers with the, I was indignant about it. It should be a bigger punishment than a yellow. Absolutely believe in this orange card, Lark. It was really cynical. And what we should have been doing to them before their number 9 scored, you bring them down. You know what I mean? They all do. The worst offenders are City and Liverpool for this, when they break on you. Yeah. But that was particularly bad with Son. But no, Holbier we've not mentioned. And I like to think I know football, but I think I've got to do this thing I used to do, with just focus on one player in a game. If you've got doubts, just focus on it the way a scout would, and just watch, just concentrate where they're going. Because most people I know, to be honest, get the ump with him, most Spurs fans. They think he's technically not good enough, this, that, the other. But
John, what do you put your finger on? Why that? Why do you think that is? Because clearly Conte loves him, and clearly I think we perform better when he's in the team, surely. Don't we?
Well, yeah, I know. Well, I would agree with that, but I do know half a dozen Spurs fans who get fed up with Holbert. For some reason, they don't rate him, But I remember there were Spurs fans who didn't particularly rate Michael Carrick. And Michael Carrick was really on his arse.
I remember this.
He wasn't a Scotty Parker. He wasn't Def Glory. He wasn't on his arse.
Many England
managers in the right position. And I think he's always making interceptions, So I think he's an unsung hero. He's just one of those players that you see players in other teams who we would probably rate these workhorse players, the unsung heroes that the fans of those clubs, they don't even like the players, and you're thinking, really, he's a good player. I think Michael Carrick is the one good example of another Spurs player who a lot of Spurs fans didn't seem to rate, because he was never on his arse sliding about. He wasn't putting fires out. He was just in the right place at the right time. Never gave the ball away. It was a good player. So the other thing, I just get back to this set piece thing. It's frustrated me for years that we couldn't put a decent corner in. We couldn't beat the first man. So many big games are decided with set pieces that good set pieces are probably going to grab you 9 points a year.
Awesome.
Maybe
I agree.
more.
Yeah.
Maybe more. So it's fantastic news that he's got a specialist in. And that was the other thing I noticed with the defending has got better and better even before this set piece guy come. I think he's got the three of them working together. You know, they work as a unit, the three of them. And that's why today with that last corner, I was a bit, obviously, you know, football, Premier League, anything can happen. But I've got a faith in us now, even when the heat's on, that we will defend stoutly. Get the other thing like that friendly game where we let against Roma, we let a guy have a free header. That's more an anomaly now with us. We seem to be getting ahead on the ball when it comes into our area.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Lee, you actually referenced it there before we've been cracking. Lee, you said yourself there, you know, Carrick was another midfielder at Tottenham where he didn't really get the credit he deserved during his time. And it's only when he moved on to Man United that you realise, God, what a midfielder we had there.
How many England managers, Ricky, just quickly, and just going, John makes a brilliant point about Carrick. How many England managers fancied Carrick? They didn't fancy him. I remember Adrian Durham for years, for weeks and months on TalkSport banging the Carrick drum. And he never really got picked for his national team. You know, who was the guy that played for Manchester United, went to play for City, ex-Bayern Munich? He's now a commentator on BT Sport.
De Jong.
Owen Hargreaves.
Owen Hargreaves.
Yeah.
Another unsung hero in that exact same position. I think he got the player of the tournament, or something. Was it in 2006 World Cup for England? But so people were starting to sing his praises back then. But these types of players, they do the dog work. Cracker's had it spot on with Højbjerg. He's the dustman, and he's the glue, and he's the guy that knits it all together. And they're just not glory. They're just not glory players. But
I think his stats for interceptions and tackles are really, really good. Right.
Exactly.
Well, I think
before we had him. Go back to before we had him, and you tell me a position that we absolutely needed. Everyone now talks about a cam. I know you do, Rick. You love a cam. About a cam or another centre back or whatever. We ain't talking about a dustman like.
you're not asking for a CDM. You're not asking for a CDM.
No, you're not asking for why? Because of Højbjerg. That's why. And he's shown as well today, and not just today, against Chelsea as well away. At one point, Højbjerg was in the box just before he scored. There was 5 white shirts in that box in that attack. You know, he's getting forward. He's making them forward passes a lot more than what he used to do as well. So he's evolving his game. So, mate, I give my hat off to him. I don't understand the hate. I just think it's a fashion thing.
I agree. Can I just say to Anthony Costa just messaged me and Simon McClure, I did say Nigel de Jong, hence why I never win a bloody shit quiz with comments like that, so please forgive me. I just got Costa message me, you donut, like a Rodney from Del Boy, you donut. Oh dear. Correct, let's go over to you. Listen, lots of love for Højbjerg, but I think the boy said it there. Last season, I think he finished 3rd in terms of the most interceptions and clearances in the Premier League. Again, this season, he's going to be an absolutely pivotal player for Antonio Conte.
It's funny. None of us have mentioned the fact he's run into the box, played a 1-2, and buried it in the corner.
It's like a striker's finish.
I never mentioned him. I have to make myself remember him. And today he's you know, if that was Saka for Arsenal or something.
You'd say what a great goal.
This Arsenal guy's running, done a 1-2.
Phil Foden. That was Phil Foden. Imagine that little move with Phil Foden.
Yeah, agree. But he's adding, Cracks is adding goals to his game now. 2nd goal already this season. Another really solid showing, really. Is there much to say in terms of more about how Højbjerg is so pivotal for this team?
He's now moving on from the dustman, and he's now becoming he's almost like an environmental waste management specialist, isn't he? He's sort of come up the pay grade a little bit. So there he was as a dustman. I'm in bins and throwing them in and stinking of old fish and tobacco. Now he comes in and he's like a specialist environmental removal bloke, isn't he? He'll come in. So if you've got like something that really needs like
attending to,
dumping and needs bagging up and putting acetate round, and he's got like the sort of skills to deal with that. So he's like, and alongside Bentancur, who I'm now going to start calling Don Papi Chulo, which is like Mr. Daddy Cool, because he really is. So you got the Dustman and Don Papi Chulo. Them two together, they
What a
just
mouthful that is. What a mouthful.
they just work lovely together. You know, you've got the coolness of Bentancur, and then Højbjerg next to him, and there's some games, you know, he sort of gets a little bit swamped depending on the system that's being played. But overall, to chip in with goals, isn't this what we've always said, Lee? Like from down the years, if you want to win things, you can't be relying on your front line all the time. You've got to be getting goals in from the left backs, the right backs. From how many times did Roy Keane get a crucial goal for Man United down the years that nicked them a win, you know? And I'm not for 1 minute saying Højbjerg is any sort of, any sort of Roy Keane, but he plays in that similar mould, doesn't he? And if he starts getting his goals as well that wins you points, then you can't ask for no more, can you?
No,
so
agreed.
long live the environmental removal specialist.
Everyone's been criticising Conte for not playing Bissouma, and when he was asked about this, he simply said that he felt that the two in there at the moment, Højbjerg and
ahead of him,
are ahead of Bissouma. Well, it looks like he was right again, because they are. No disrespect to Bissouma, but right now they're both the dog's bollocks. That's that.
No,
you know.
Some of the comments we've had in on Højbjerg, just to follow from Cracker's analogies here, we've had the Sopranos waste management, we've had the asbestos removal expert there from C. Shearman. Kalen said he's like a personal chef. So kind of winked towards Crackers. They're asking where Bill is tonight. I think Bill's watching on the other side, so we're not going to get Bill doing a wagyu steak for Rich just yet. But he may pop up throughout the show. Bless him. I think Bill.
His feet up on the sofa having a read of his book. He's listening intently, nodding and laughing in the background. So he's still here. Don't worry. Soon as I want my midnight cocoa, I'm sure we'll be able to knock something up between us.
I might be laughing on the last show when Bill got more airtime than the other four that were guests. Bill might as well have been a guest. It was just insane. Good old Bill. Loved on last word on Spurs for the one appearance. Go on,
just very quickly, Rick. Bill went into work last week and went through one of the departments, and there was a bit of laughter. And one of the other boys from one of the other departments came over and went to him, "Was you on a podcast at the weekend? I'm sure I see you nutting around in the background cooking." And Spurs fan in his office.
Poor bloke weren't even on as a guest on the show, and he's still getting bloody driven mad. Good old Bill. He'll be on for the Champions League. Don't worry, he definitely will be. Listen, let's talk about a moment where, isn't it so Spurs that we nearly conceded a goal directly from a foul throw, yet there were no complaints and hardly any given, and then the West Ham actually get pulled up on a foul throw the next game, almost poetic in the nature of Spurs. But I think we all agree, listen, first half, our best of the season. Definitely 100%. I mean, we had really strong performances across the board there. Romero, Bentancur, Longley playing well. Richarlison already testing Leno at that point. Dyer also firing over with a good chance. And then Fulham made a triple substitution. They introduced James, Willian, Kearney. Boos rung loud for Willian. It was like the pantomime villain when he came on. And Spurs then, we thought we had another goal. Simple finish from Kane with the ball falling kindly to him. Session really at the heart of the move, but then we saw the goal. It did stand actually despite VAR's claims. We had to wait a while for it. Lee, how important was the time of that second goal? We mentioned earlier that we had a couple disallowed, but Spurs did get that second goal. Harry Kane, cool finish from him. I mean, listen, Lee, he started the season on fire, hasn't he, really, Harry Kane? Already eclipsing yet another goal-scoring record, which we'll come on to in a second.
Well, it's quite amazing, really, that, you know, if that monster, that what did you call him, Rick, last show, the cartoon character that is out in a Haaland.
The comic. Yeah.
Kane's up there, isn't he? With up there already. I mean, no, he don't score in August, and obviously, you know, he's already on 5. So I think he's, you know, and as some of the guys said on the last pod, Jason Cracks, I think, Frankie and Jay said on the last pod, he's not even up to full beans yet either. So I thought it was like you say, a nice, cool finish. And I know you're going to come on to the stats. So I don't want to ruin it, but this guy, I can't keep talking. The biggest rush that I got today in the stadium was when literally the entire stadium sang his song, because I do think sometimes, and especially from last season as well, with all the hullabaloo, that we do take Kane for granted. I do sometimes think that. So, you know, this guy, it was a big push to sing his song, and we all sang it, and it was brilliant. And yeah, I mean, I think that to be able to be taken off as well. I mean, you know, I put in as a joke. I don't think anyone was laughing in the group, to be fair, but I put in a group WhatsApp chat earlier yesterday. I said, I think Richarlison will. I think he'd drop Kane and play Richarlison, because if you remember, I said there's no way Kane's ever getting dropped, regardless of, because Richarlison is not a number 9, even though he wears it on the back of his shirt. He's not there to replace Kane. So it was lovely to see Conte pull Kane, keep Son on, and then put Richarlison in that number 9 spot after Kane got his goal. Made it 2-0. And to answer your question, was crucial. Like my mate Colsey, I was with a game with, he said to me, he said, Macca, we need another goal. And I'm like, we do need another goal. And when it goes in, there was almost that relief, wasn't there, around the stadium? Everyone was watching.
Well, everyone thought the game was dead. I think we all thought the game was dead.
We thought, you know what, we're okay now. We're still carrying on with our viewing of Downtown Abbey. But then obviously what happened after that got a bit dodgy, didn't it? But I think the other thing that was interesting as well about possession-wise, I think Richarlison was outstanding today. But when Kane goes off the pitch, you also miss something else, don't you? The defending of corners, for example, the defending on the edge of the box. He's so good. He's so good at that. He's so good as a 10. He's so good as a 9. Like, he offers his team so much more than just putting the ball in the back of the net, and he's bloody very good at that as well. So absolutely outstanding. I know you're going to say the stats. So he's now the top third highest. No, he is not the joint anymore. He's an outright top third highest goal scorer in the Premier League of all time with 188 goals. He's still playing. He's the only one in the top 10. I think Jamie Vardy's just outside the top 10. Might have been in the top 10. I think he's the only one in the top 10 that's actually still playing. So this guy is going to break all records, in my opinion. And look, Alan Shearer is absolutely the creme de la creme, but he's going to be watching this every week now, thinking, hello, Kane's gone again. He's gone again. And I think he's going to score. I mean, he's only 20 off of Wayne Rooney now.
Well, I mean, don't put it past him that this is. Yeah, listen, don't put it past him. I mean, Jar, let's come over to you. Kane, I mean, again, listen, he's renowned for really starting the season slowly, but I mean, Jar, with the form he's in, I mean, he could quite easily get to Rooney's record this season. And again, listen, he won't be too long away this season, next season, of becoming Spurs' all-time goal scorer. Is he given the recognition, Jar, he deserves, in your opinion?
Well, you know, he gets an incredible amount of disrespect from other teams, a lot of other teams' fans, doesn't he, Kane? You know, for some reason, which is kind of strange because he's a nice fella. You know, he's not a showboat, or he's not flash. So it's just, you know, tribalism. But he's just an incredible player. Yeah, I've never known a number 9 reinvent themselves as a number 10 at the same time as still being a great number 9. Unbelievable.
Oh,
He's lost a yard of pace that he had, but he's made up for it with canniness. So he thinks like Pirlo, the Italian. You know, the only other player I can think who was Ray Kennedy, who played for Arsenal up front in their double-winning team, and then become a midfielder in a very successful Liverpool team, which was unbelievable, you know. But Kane, even more so. He could, you know, he's a number 9, number 10 combined. He was a proper hybrid. You know, you could play him as a midfielder. Yeah, you know, he could go 3-5-2 and put Kane in the middle of the 3, and it'd be fine. You know, it won't be any issue. I mean, he might be the creative midfielder we're talking about. You know,
but do you think in the future, and maybe not right now, but do you think in the future, like when he comes towards the end of his career, for example, he might end up doing that? Do you remember? You know, a lot of players kind of do that, didn't they?
Rooney did it. Rooney did it, didn't he? For United, Rooney dropped back, didn't he? Rooney did it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Lee, there's every chance he could become a Spurs quarterback before he goes on to become a quarterback in NFL, because I'm sure he will go from football into NFL in some way or the other, because he loves it so much. But he really, I'll make you right, John. if needs be, you could play him in that De Bruyne role, couldn't you? You could put Richarlison, Son, or Kulusevski up front and just drop him. If you bought him if he was a cam and was for sale now, everybody would want him. And the fact that he's actually like the striker he is insane. Absolutely insane.
I'm not just saying this, Rich. He wouldn't be far behind De Bruyne in that list if you were playing him as a cam. He wouldn't. And I know, again, people need to understand that, if they're watching Spurs every week, they'll get that. I know there's fans watching from, other clubs are thinking, what? Are you serious? Watch Kane every week. Crackers, tell me if I'm lying here. He would be that good where he would be that effective as a cam, as a number 10.
Well, I quite like that fans of other teams hate him because it's always like a backhanded compliment, isn't it? So if you're absolutely hated as a footballer, and let's face it, he's not falling out of nightclubs. There's not this and that going on in the background. So it is only the football. I love they all hate him. I love that they hate him because, the moment they stop hating him is the moment he's not effective. They all hate him because they just don't like playing against him. It's a backhanded compliment, I hated Thierry Henry. Now with the sands of time, you sort of look at him and you go, I hated him, but I only hated him because of how effective he was. But there was another player. The great players can adapt. He was a left winger and then became a striker. So the great players are able to adapt. Hoddle was another one. I was doing a night with Glenn last night, and he changed his role. As he got older, he sort of changed what he done. If you're a great player, you can adapt. And Kane's doing it like in the middle of his career, in the summer of his career. It's incredible.
Yeah, no, it is remarkable. Listen, let's go for our next break of the show, our final break of the show for our listeners and audio. We're going to talk about the players' performances, a number of them, and also look ahead to Spurs' first Champions League game of the season. What a lovely thing that's to say. Of course, we've got Marseille to come next week. So let's just go for that next break of the show now, if we can. For our watch audience on YouTube, there's a good 800 of you, 900 of you joining us on a Saturday night. Thank you so much again for all your support. We're joined by a great panel. Crackers back on Last Word on Spurs. The wonderful Lee McQueen back from a lovely break. And the wonderful, he's kept us going here, Jar, all night long. Jar, I know you can't see your comments. If you get a chance to watch this back, Jar, there's been so much love for you. Ask you to do the next team talk for Mourinho. Mourinho? He went to Mourinho. Conte. Not Mourinho just yet, Jar, I tell you. Don't worry yet.
All you Tottenham fans out there. Yeah, not so lovely.
Well, they loved me until I said Mourinho, Jar. I was going down a really dodgy route
there tonight. De Jong, Mourinho.
I've just had Costa messaging me saying, he gets on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I am now no longer his phone a friend. You are, Cracks. No pressure. I think maybe it's a good thing. I couldn't imagine Ant on a 250k question getting that wrong. He would never speak to me again, bless him. I can't do that to him. I couldn't do that to him. Right, guys, let's talk about some of the player ratings. I mean, Hugo Lloris, as we mentioned, kind of back to where he was really before that West Ham game. Really couldn't do anything about Mitrovic's goal, which let's just discuss on, because Hugo Lloris really left for dead for Mitrovic's goal. Cracks, do you have a view on whether we could do anything more with that, or do you just applaud the finish from Mitrovic? Because to be fair, he left us with a really nervy 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, great finish. He's a player in form. Came up last time, couldn't hit a cow's arse with a banjo. Come up this time from the Championship, and he's pulling up trees, isn't he? And, sometimes, guess what? Football, you concede a good goal sometimes. It just happens, doesn't it? So it was just a good goal, and sometimes they happen. So there's no one you can really go, oh, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. Yeah. It's spot on. So it was just a really good goal, Rick.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Let's do Richarlison now. I mean, we've had so many comments down when you're discussing Richarlison. We'll bring him into the context now, Lee, because it just feels like it's time to discuss him. I mean, listen, he scored, but he was disallowed for VAR. He also got booked for taking his shirt off in the celebration. One question I want to ask you, Lee. Surely, when VAR decide that goal doesn't count, surely then, Lee, doesn't the yellow card also not stand? Because, the shirt off reacting to something that actually never happens. Have we got a case there? Or
No, because do you know what? It's so weird. I asked exactly the same question to Colesy, who I sit with, and he went, no. You get the yellow card for taking your shirt off. You don't get the yellow card for taking your shirt off if you score. You get the yellow card for taking your shirt off.
Even though he took the shirt off in the action of obviously scoring, and that goal isn't disallowed by VAR.
I was about to do mine then. You don't want to see that on a Saturday, but you know he took his shirt off regardless. Do you get what I mean? So yeah, it was interesting because I asked the same question, but the answer is unequivocally no. He doesn't get that rescinded. He got booked because he took his shirt off. Simple as that. I just think it's so
unfair, though. I just think that's so unfair.
I know. He was so pumped as well. We come right over to the south stand. He was pumped. He was smashing his chest. He was absolutely loving it. The passion was just dripping out of this bloke. And he is fully coys. I mean, literally
already.
Coys.
He's played 5 games, but he's adored as a legend. I mean, he's got a legend already.
And you know what? I know they're not down the road, got another Brazilian, and he's been very good for them as well in terms of, you know, their main striker and all that sort of stuff. But this guy, he's on a different planet. I mean, the team absolutely love him. I don't know if anyone's watched Pierre-Emile Højbjerg's post-match interview, but he talked about him heavily, and he just basically said, "We love him. He is mad." But in a good way.
Yeah. But that was always going to happen, wasn't it? I think you're going to adore him when he becomes a player of yours. When you're against him, he winds you up. I mean, today he went down a couple of times, and we're all sitting there applauding it, going, "Go on, Richie, waste the time."
Yeah. I mean,
we're loving
it. Against you forever, and you're like, get up. But when it's with your team, you are absolutely loving it. And you know what? Do you know what impressed me the most about him is he worked. Me and Colesy were saying this. He worked so hard. Like he never gave up. He never not run out after everything. And when the opportunities, both of the goals actually, and the ones that got ruled off in the end, all of them come from us pressing. And I have to give a bit of a shout out quickly on the first goal to Emerson Royale, because everybody ate it. Not everybody, but loads of people don't like Emerson. They all say he's not good enough. But that first goal doesn't happen if Emerson Royale does not press number 27. I don't know his name, but they're number 27, their left back right at the time. He pressed him, and he hassled. And sometimes you give him a little push, didn't you? How many times you've seen a player, especially a Spurs player, push him and it's an easy free kick? But he didn't. He just niggled away, and he got the press on him. And Richarlison, to be fair to him, was doing that all game. In every part of the pitch. He was doing it in his final third. He was doing it near his own box. He was absolutely relentless, the bloke. And he's fully coys and absolutely thought it was an outstanding performance. I was gutted that it was ruled offside. Not obviously just because it would have been 3-1, but he fully deserved the goal today.
Yeah, it will come. I mean, Cracks, come over to you. Listen, they can disallow the goal, but they can't disallow the performance, because he is going to make a lot of people, I think, stupid this season. I mean, the shot he had off the post, I mean, you can't have been someone lucky. It was a wonderful effort. But I mean, as Lee says, worked his absolute nuts off. And already the fans, they love the devilment in him. It reminds me a little bit when Dele Alli came onto the scene, that you knew there was something about him where he was going to roll the opposition. But for you, you're going to absolutely adore him, right?
He's just pure street baller, isn't he? He plays with his heart, you know. And what I love is I loved watching Bentancur today, a man that plays with his head. Heart rate never goes above 78. And then you've got Richarlison, whose heart rate never goes below 178. He's just like, you know, they are just light and day, aren't they? They're chalk and cheese, but we've got both of them. You've got that coolness personified, and then you've got like this absolute lunatic up front. He's nuts. He is an absolute box of frogs, Rick. But love him for it. Absolutely love him. Every blade of grass, pressing. He's shouting and screaming. The shirt came off. Listen, we might lose him here and now for a suspension with cards picked up. But what are you going to do? You can't take that out of his game, Rick. No. It's what makes him.
Exactly. Spot on.
It's same as Romero. You know, we'll lose him a little bit here and now. But you can't take it out of his game. You can't sit Richarlison down and say to him, "Now, don't take your shirt off anymore," because you lose him. You'll absolutely lose everything. He's punk rock, isn't he, John? He's rock and roll. You know, Bentancur's that silky, the jazz musician in the midfield, and then you get up front, and he's public image limited, isn't he? Richarlison, he really is. I love him to bits. He's a cult hero.
He can play a bit. The little Meg he done in the first half today, I knew that was coming all day long. Yeah. He can really play. That volley. Well, what a technique.
Yeah.
Glenn Hoddle, because he was sort of off balance, and he still managed to.
There you go, John.
Body shape out.
When he hit
that feet off the ground when he volleyed it, didn't he?
When he hit that volley that came off the post, Rick, me and Bill said to each other, "There's Hoddle. That's Hoddle. That's the first time since Hoddle I've seen Hoddle. Like it was it was insane.
Apart from last night,
even the body shape. The body shape reminded me when Hoddle smashed that hat trick against the volley against Man U, that in the air volley. The great Hoddle goal. Richarlison's body shape today, that was Hoddle again in that Man U game. He's just, I love him to bits. And to compare him to Hoddle, well, then you got to be doing something right, haven't you? So it was. Except I was with Glenn Hoddle last night, but I'm talking about Glenn as the player.
Not as the person.
It's signing him. I couldn't believe that. Because all I know is every time I've seen him play against us for Everton, he's a handful.
I agree. Oh, listen, I mean, I totally agree. But against the top six, his record is really good. He's the kind of player you're going to want going away to the Arsenals, the Uniteds, the Cities, Liverpools. Honestly, I mean, again, look at the effect he had when he came on against Chelsea. I mean, it was there for all to see. Conscious of time, we have got to squeeze in a Marseille preview. Listen, back line today, Romero. I mean, listen, again, we saw the impact of him coming back. He took a card early on. I thought, again, how well did he do last season handling a card? He did really well today. I know there's been an argument.
Can I just quickly say, not only got the card, he did really hurt the geezer. I thought that was spiteful, but kind of nice. In a way. Do you know what I mean? It was.
Only Jar could get away with that. Only Jar could get away with that.
He left the geezer on the floor. If you're going to foul and get a card, hurt him. That's not a nice thing to say, but you know what I mean? I'd rather that than kick a ball away, kick the geezer.
As long as he leaves in Polax, that's all right in Jar's book. So he done a number on him, and I think he went off after that, didn't he?
And you never know what's been said off the ball. You never know what's been said off the ball.
Well, Romero's
a lot Rick? Said. Even though Jah Wobble's now 112 years old, he'll never not be a punk, will he? And God bless him for that.
You can see the devilment in him, can't you? We should have got him.
Fighting spirit.
That's it. He leaves them all on the deck. Listen, we picked up Longley, we mentioned earlier. Good debut for him. You expect he's going to really heavily feature in the Champions League for Tottenham. Emerson Royale. Listen, we could do a show on Emerson, but I don't want to get into that. I mean, against they like Lee said, pivotal for one of the goals. I will say, watching him from third row down, Emerson, my God, the final ball, bless him. There's obviously some work to do on there, and we hope he will get that obviously going at some point in his Spurs career, as I keep on stuttering to say so. Then
on Emerson, and this is a key point, right? Where we sit in the South Stand, we're like 252, but about 40 row 48, right? So we've got quite a good vantage point. And he was in so much space so many times today, and it felt like his teammates didn't want to pass to him.
That's right.
It felt like that, didn't it? It felt like they didn't. I said to Colby, I said, did these boys want to pass to him? Like even Kane. Remember when Kane fell over at one point when he was trying to pass and he just skew with the pass? Emerson was in some seriously good positions today, and he didn't get the passes. And I just wonder whether that is, I don't know, a subconscious thing of the team. Because if he'd have got some decent passes to him today, it could have been a different result. He might not have finished them right, and like you said, Ricky, his crossing needs to improve, but he gets into some serious positions, and it's like the other team leave him open because they know that no one's going to pass to the bloke.
That's correct. Yeah, that's right.
But John, I'll say before.
That's exactly the same thoughts go through my mind. Both those thoughts. Yeah,
I've got no problem with him defensively. I think he's solid defensively. I can't sit here and claim to be concerned like I was when we had Sergio at the back when I was worried about a mistake. But it's just in terms of the going forward situation with Emerson. I mean, today watching him up close like I was, the final ball, if he could work on that, honestly, he would be a really, really good player
The
for us.
thing
And
is,
again,
though,
it comes
he
down
is
to Conte.
working on it. Rick, he is what
I don't doubt he is. I don't doubt he is. Yeah, I don't doubt he is.
I'm one of these shadows that watches all the training.
Mm.
Like I watch all the training videos and all that, and like I sit there and watch them and that. And he's working on it. It's just not getting much better. And also, I will defend him a little bit. I don't want to dig people out. Some of the balls that he does put in, they're actually quite good, but they're just not on somebody's head. They've run beyond it or they've gone behind it.
You're right. You said earlier, Lee, the pressing, what he done for that first goal does not happen unless Emerson presses it. I know Hero on the screen, she sent a question to us saying, what does Conte see in him? I think, why don't we reverse that question and say, what is he not seeing in Matt Doherty and Jed Spence to keep playing Emerson? And I think the key is that, obviously, with Emerson, he trusts him a lot. Otherwise, he would not start him. And with Spence, he's still a club signing, as we keep on making that point. And I'm sure Spence will get minutes. Doherty said he's working hard, but ultimately, I think many do suggest here and say that despite Emerson's lack of improvement in certain areas, he has to improve massively from when he started. And I do agree with that. But I do think if Tottenham want to, again, be excited about the creativity from the wing-backs, we're going to need more. You know, I've been criticising the last couple of weeks for finding... Go on.
Sorry, Rick. Sorry to cut you off, buddy. I didn't mean that. But
go on.
How long do we think before he plays Kulusevski as a right wing back? For example, look, I'm not being funny. Or he plays Perisic on that side because he knows that Perisic can play both sides. Because that is going to be indicative to what he thinks of his current right wing backs. I mean, we've got three. We've got Emerson, Doherty, and Jed Spence. And none of them seem to be good enough. Like two of them in Conte's mind, and we all thought Doherty after, before Cash smashed him up in that Villa game, he was on brilliant form. When he's scoring against Leeds, he's scoring against Newcastle, he's getting assists, but he's not even got back in the team. So is it difficult? Yeah, Moura as well, Lucas Moura. I mean, he's taken an injury. Do you think he'd be playing as a right wing back if he wasn't injured?
But I think the key is, for me, as I said before, is that Conte, look, the TJ says it on the screen, Conte's a safe bet. That's why he plays him. I think the argument at the moment for me, is that, if we are so insistent on having that creativity from the wing backs, we still have to demand more. We have to demand more because having 3 games in almost a week now until November, we are going to have to improve significantly as a team. I know it might be crazy me saying that because we're still unbeaten. I think we've got 1 defeat in 17. We're 3rd in the league. Don't get me wrong. Listen, we're on a really good run at the moment, but we know the areas that we need to improve. And listen, I'm sure with Conte, we've got the right man there, to keep us going. I mean, Benson, of course, we said today, returning. I think, again, he showed what a big player he was for us in that midfield, pressing really hard, defensive work in the second half. There was a moment, I think I said it earlier, that we were deep in his own half, second half, and the crowd were like, oh, the ball went back. But Bentancur is just so calm. It's like there's no crowd there with Bentancur. He just doesn't even let anything affect him. The guy is just mentally.
You know how it works, because you are Rodrigo Bentancur. Like, let's have it right. You try making out that you're not. You were running down the high road today to get back to the pod because you just played.
Of course I was. That's why, to go and get the kit to go up for 2:45.
Rodrigo Bentancur. He's the reason why we're playing on Wednesdays this season. Mate, it's a tune.
Honestly, banging. Get ready to sing that on. Get ready to sing that next week. Boys, final thing. This is Son, very quickly. Crack, you said it earlier. I don't think you've got any concerns about Son. He did anything but score today. The longer it goes on, Rich, is there a concern for you about Son? Or do you think, no, he'll find his way into full?
It will come. One will go in. He had the own goal, West Ham. That was him. He had that. If it wasn't turned in today, is it the underside of the bar and it's come down? It just happens in football sometimes. You just can't get one, and you can't get one for not getting one. And Sonny seems to have that like Korean mentality of this is going to really weigh heavy on him. I think if he was more of a Hispanic mind, it would be okay, shrug of the shoulders, a little bit of the Italian, Hispanic, European. It will come. But I think probably with that sort of South Korean mentality, it's like, that great dishonour thing and everything. It seems to be just weighing a bit heavy. But once one comes, it comes. You can't fault him today.
No,
His
listen,
work rate was absolutely.
His energy was insane
He
today.
was all over the place, and he played with a bit more of a smile on his face as well today. So listen, Man City next week, you're going to take a barren spell. Everyone will take one if he pops up on 89, 90 minutes next week and bags us a winner. I mean, you're going to forget every last second of the games he has not got one in.
How many times has he banged in a proper goal against Man City?
All the comments here again. It's bang on from to score against City, but also Champions League, Jar. Listen, Son has always scored big goals for Spurs. Champions League against the big teams. Will it come, Jar, for you in the next two we've got coming up with Son? What do you reckon, Jar?
Yeah, I've got no doubts. He's top player, so absolutely and he's got a great attitude, and it happens. It happens in football. And it's just typical happens on the back of a season where he was so prolific and everything was going in.
Yes.
By the way, I think if Doherty didn't have a place at Tottenham, he would have gone out with Winks and Lo Celso and all that. So he'll be featured, sure. He's just, I've got a feeling injury. And by the way, I think Cash really did, as Lee said, he smashed him up. That was a red card. But didn't even say much about it, but I think that injury really had an effect. I think it's taken a time for him to get back to, is what I suspect. I'm certain he will feature within the next couple of weeks. I think Conte wanted to get off to a nice, steady, safe start, and that's why he made too many changes, and now we're starting to see them, thick and fast. I don't know about Spence. I don't know about him. I guess again with Conte, generally what you see is what you get. It's down to what you do on a training ground.
Agree. I totally agree. I mean, just to finish up actually on Conte's presser after the game for Sonny, he was laughing and saying that, Sonny's even struggling to score in training with Forster making a number of saves against him. He said, this is not only for Sonny in the matches, but we also have the training. We have Forster making good saves, a fantastic save tonight. He said, look, I can tell you, I'm not worried because when I see this type of performance, it's only just a matter of time. We spoke about Kulu actually a couple minutes ago. Not on for long today. He came on from the 77th minute to replace Harry Kane. He did put an inviting cross that nobody could finish off. And Perisic, not a lot of time to make an impact. Only come on with 6 minutes to go. You would imagine those boys will probably end up playing against Marseille in the Champions League, which is where we are going to turn our attention to next. We're lucky we've been given a great preview for our listeners on audio from Luke from the League podcast. What I did there? The Ligue podcast, and from the Marseille way.
Ligue Rick, we heard what you done there, Ligue
Oh dear, it's all happening here tonight. Before we do, like I say, discuss Marseille, just a quick reminder, ahead of Marseille in the Champions League, of course, to come at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We're delighted to be partnered by SportBreaks for this season. This obviously gives you the opportunity to have hospitality and ticket packages for every home fixture. They've got some as well for the Champions League. You can check them out by going to www.sportbreaks.com/football/Premier-League Tottenham Hotspur. Make sure you take advantage of that to come. Right, it is time, guys, to get into Marseille. Very, very early, really, to discuss team news, such as the nature of the turnaround, but maybe just give a quick couple of minutes on the excitement of what we've got to come. Cracks, let's start with you. How excited are you for the Champions League? We know you're going to probably try and get to as many of the home ones as you can, pending, obviously, travel. Rich, how excited to be back at home? Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Champions League theme.
Champions League, Rick. What a nonsense. It's over bloated. It's all money. It's this, it's that. And like, you look at it and you go, where's football gone? Like from the old days. It's just like, and yet it just pulls you in, Rick, doesn't it? It pulls you in and it chews you up and it spits you out. And when the boys walk out there on Wednesday night and that music starts up, and that ground, by the way, which is just like phenomenal. It really is. As Lee said earlier, when Harry Kane's name was sung, it was insane today. So when that music chimes up, it's all bets are off, Rick. How can you not want to perform as a player in that stadium in the most elite competition. You know, like I said, it's like the money's insane in it. Everything, it's almost obscene, but it just drags you in, Rick. You want to be in it. You want to be part of it.
Yeah.
And you just love it. Absolutely love it. The all white kit's back. Tottenham in Europe under the lights in the European Cup, which is basically what it is. Oh man, come on! How can you not love it? If you know, if you've got any sort of trepidation about that, then I don't know. I think you can go and watch Tiddlywinks on Eurosport with Jason McGovern, one of our own. He seems to watch all these weird sports. So, like, you go elsewhere. But I'm buzzing for it. Absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, absolutely. Lee, coming over to you. I mean, listen, Kane's got a record of 20 goals in 24 Champions League matches. He'll be keen to add to that. But Lee, I'm sure you also are going to want to give him a shout out because I know they've been highly influential in the raising the atmosphere. Spurs song seats, THFC flags. I know you know those boys personally as well. Just how pivotal is that support going to be at that Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for a lot of these home games?
Oh, absolutely massive. I think we saw that. We touched upon that. Jar mentioned it earlier as well in the show, you know, the back end of last season. I thought it was absolutely pivotal. And I think that, you know, when you got that lot down the road doing really well, like, respect to them. I respect other football teams and the way they're playing, and they're doing really well. They're top of the league at the moment, but they're building their fan base. So I've got some very good friends that are Arsenal fans, and they believe they believe, and you know, there's a lot of our fans that don't, and that's what really does my head in, to be honest, is because we're drained of that belief of we can do something, and we need to be together. So THFC flags, I sent a video out earlier. I don't know if it went. Just a quick moan actually about the stadium. Like, the Wi-Fi is absolutely shocking. It's like worse than my Wi-Fi here. Like, sort it out. They need Nord. That's what they need. They need Nord in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Don't worry about that. So I did send. I videoed the flags going out. I love that first part. I think is it Metallica? That is my first home game of the season today because I've been in Spain, haven't I? So is it Metallica they play? I think they
the Sandman Metallica that they play. And it certainly beat things up from Can't Smile Without You, innit? It's some track, innit?
Really good. That was a lot more. That was more into. I agree. I mean, that really, I thought raised it today.
Quick, isn't it? Like a beef, and then the chants and the songs. I mean, it is tough sometimes if you don't know the words to all of the big chants and stuff like that. Then you know, sometimes I'm singing on my own, or I'm singing "He's the Reason" like on my own. I'm thinking people just want me to shut up, maybe. But look, we're definitely getting there. The atmosphere is there, and I think that when you can see the
Beaver Nord. That one for you, Lee. Beaver Nord.
Beaver Nord. Look, I think that when you can see the likes of Richarlison giving absolutely every ounce of his being today, that's what you want to see, don't you, as fans? And that gets us up for it, and it's easier for us to enjoy the game and stuff. So I can't wait, like crackers. I cannot wait for Champions League.
Lee, don't forget that team is also stuffed full of like ex-Gooners, isn't it? And Payet as well. So there's some London scores to settle there, isn't there? So there's some good Panto villains we can really like start giving the bird to, can't we?
Guendouzi's in there, that Tavernier. I think that Tavernier, he's absolutely shocking for them. I think that's all 3 and 2. I think
you know, with Guendouzi plays, he's going to come and see Romero, the hairdresser, isn't he? Your hairdresser appointment awaits you, Guendouzi. Come and see Romero.
Like you said, and something about the white kit, isn't there? The something about the
the full white. I agree. Yeah, under the lights, it's gonna be amazing.
I literally look, and this is a thing, right? And everyone's got their own opinions, and everyone gets emotional and that sort of stuff about football. But the reality is, we are back at the top table. We busted our guts off to get there. Let's go and enjoy it.
Absolutely. If you can't enjoy it now, then when can you enjoy it? God.
Exactly. Go and support the team. We're back in the Champions League. And I tell you, and I know he's injured at the moment, but Lucas Moura loves the Champions League. Don't you even worry about that. There is some special nights to come, I'm certain. On what day is it of the week, Rick?
Wednesdays, but we have to say we are sometimes going to be on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Tuesdays. But yeah, we are majority going to be on Wednesdays. Yeah. Jar, we're saying, are we auditioning for Jah Wobble there? A little bit of sing-song. Jar, thoughts on the Champions League for you? How excited are you, Jar, these nights back at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium?
I've got a gig in Birmingham that kicks off at 8:45, I think, so I can catch the first half. I don't know. I mean, I'm excited, but the group stage, I bet it won't be a full house, will it? Do you think it'll be a full house on Wednesday?
Well,
Yeah,
I saw
I
they were,
think in the end it might.
we have seen 4 tickets for one, haven't we? Now, is it trying to bring? You can buy up to 4 tickets now. I've seen come through.
Bring 4 guests and this, that, and the.
Yeah. I think they have priced it wrong, haven't they, Jar? I think they've got the pricing wrong. I think they have got the pricing wrong.
I think they were hoping, based on the fact that Spurs are back in the Champions League, they were probably going to end up getting more fans there than actually the teams that we're facing. But I mean,
you've got to take into consideration the bloody energy bills and the way the people are at the moment.
Number one, cost of living crisis. Well, listen, cost of living crisis. The time as well. It's still a midweek. Anyone got kids? It's not easy. And again, getting back. I mean, Joe, I'm sure wherever you will be on stage, you'll be having them on your mind.
I will have it on the phone as I play.
That's his blazing.
Oh yeah. I have it. I can manage it, you know.
I've got to make you laugh, John. Listen, we have all these musicians, comedians that come on here. You know what? These people,
100%. But I'll just have an eye on it. You know, have it on the phone by the amp.
This is what cracks me up. This is what cracks me up, though, John. We've got people that come on here that are playing live at the Royal Albert Hall. They've got their phone in the background watching Spurs against Wolves on a Sunday. Isn't that just insane?
There it works. Well, I used to. When we were in Europe in the 80s, I used to book me dates around Tottenham's away. As soon as I knew where we were away, I'd get shows booked in those cities.
Brilliant.
So I could combine. Yeah, so I could combine it. So I used to try and do that as much as we could. But I'm looking forward to it. You know, it's a massive big deal.
Yeah.
I just was surprised to get these emails offer. You know, I just thought, sounds like.
We're struggling. We're struggling to sell them.
Stadium, what I suspect, which you would expect for a proper league game, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree. Guys, constant time. We've been going for nearly an hour and I'm 40. Let's wrap up with predictions. Let's start with you, Joel. What are you going to go for? Spurs, Marseille. What do you think?
It'll be a tough game because it's going to be a bit of an edge, I think, but I'm going to go 3-1.
Okay, so 3-1. And Jar, for anybody that doesn't know where you are on social media, I can't really know, where can they find you and what's coming up in your tour dates?
I'm on Crime Watch occasionally. But no, I'm on JahWobble.com. And I'm touring. We've got a big tour started this week. So, we're going everywhere. All the in-between places, like Deal, Aldershot. You know,
the riot.
Would normally play. We're doing all them, you know.
Amazing. Jar, honestly, I've got to say, absolute pleasure having you back on Last Word on Spurs. I can tell the viewers have loved it. We've loved it. We're looking forward to having you back on throughout the season.
Top draw.
Lee, mate, thank you very much for coming back on. We know Saturday night's never easy, so really appreciate it, mate. I'm sure, like I say, got so many games between now and November. It's just going to be, for us on Last Word on Spurs, it's going to be a really tough period, God knows, for the players. But it's a lot of games come up for us, Lee, isn't there? Loads of games.
Loads of stuff going on, loads of stuff behind the scenes that we're coming through, lots of work. You've been working your absolute backside off as normal, Ricky, to get these shows out and all of this stuff that we've got going on. So really looking forward to the really busy stuff that we've got going on. And also my prediction, because obviously I know that you really like my opinion, Rick. I'm going to go for 2-0. 2-0 for Tottenham.
I just assumed that you were going to say a win. I mean, I don't think in the 5 years you've done Last Word on Spurs, I don't think you've ever once said we're going to get beat. So I just assume you're going to say win.
Deluded, right? Mate. I am deluded.
Yeah,
you're all right. All of you in the comments and that follow me. I am deluded.
Oh, mate, honestly, lots of love. And Cracks, mate, let's get a prediction for you. I know also you've got a lot of dates at the moment, Rich, for September. I know we've got it going out on the audio on the Match of the Day theme at the moment. Anything else worth adding in there, Rich, that you've got coming up you want to give a mention to that's still winging its way around?
Well, listen, just a win Wednesday night. Don't care how it comes. It's all about just winning this, isn't it? It's just get your win. So, but listen, Rick, I just want to take a few moments at the end of the show. Last night I'd done a night with Glenn Oddle, as you know. Lad Jason came over from New Delhi, came to the night, went to the lane today with a couple of lovely kids, Camille and Lucas. And listen, he pulled me aside last night and said, can you tell all the boys and girls on the show, thank you? He said, because we had a right tough lockdown in India. He said, and, the show kept me connected with North London. And so many people always come up and say, I love the show, but I like just being with people, it means a lot to a lot of people. But you know what? It's not just us lot that gather and do this. It's the comments as well. I'm beginning to see people almost making friendships and relationships in the comments. So, not just us doing this, talking our inane nonsense, the people that comment as well, and come together. And it helps people. It genuinely helps people and their mental health to know that there's a bit of a community and almost some company for people and a little bit of connection. So not just those people, the people in the comments and turn up and, form relationships and everything, spot on. If you're doing that, regardless of whether it's a football podcast, a knitting podcast or anything, if you can find something like that and it helps, that's all that matters in life. It really is. So,
I must say on that, Cracks, it down to likes of Jar, to Cracks, to you, Lee. That, again, I have to say, Last Word on Spurs is much about the wonderful guests that we bring on that make us do this show. Again, without the guests, there is no Last Word on Spurs. Without the wonderful viewers, there is no Last Word on Spurs. To our viewers, to our listeners and audio, again, thank you so much for all your incredible support throughout the summer. I mean, again, we've got, as Jason says there, he can't stand Sacks. Sorry, Jason, I'm here for the moment. Feel free to come and take over anytime you fancy. We've got so many shows coming up, as you can imagine. Between now and November, it's 3 shows a week. So, listen, we're going to try our best to turn around as many as you can, and we're going to hopefully have a live show coming. So, again, I say thank you so much for all your love, all your support, again, at the stadium today. Absolutely overwhelming, which I'm sure Cracks, Lee will absolutely echo, and Jar as well.
I've got to throw them out there, like New York Spurs. I met. They come up to me in Beavertown, and they said, loving the show, loving it. And they're from New York, and they've come over to watching the game. I can't remember all your names. I'm really sorry. I think there was Nick. Nick was there, and they're from New York, and they were, the supporters clubs over there. They were just absolutely loving it. So again, I echo everything everyone said, and thank you again for coming up today. It's brilliant.
Yeah, thank you so much for all the love. Guys, we are back with you for, again, a real top panel on Wednesday, Tuesday. How bad's that? Tuesday, Wednesday? Wednesday, Tuesday? It is, of course.
Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. Going to be Wednesday.
Just go 24 hours a day, Rick. Do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, rolling news service, like Sky Sports. Like Sky Sports News, which you've done very well on, by the way, Rick, on transfer deadline day. You were spot on that.
Thank you, mate. I feel like I haven't slept for 3 nights, so I'm looking forward to a nice, quiet Sunday. Isn't that nice? Last one on Spurs, we got a bed on Sundays now, not Saturdays, which is great. So, honestly, from all the boys, from all the viewers and listeners, thank you so much for your support. We are back with you for Marseille Champions League post-match reaction. Isn't that nice? And that on Last One on Spurs. From Cracks, from Lee, from the wonderful Jah Wobble. Please keep safe, keep well, and as always, come on, you Spurs.